everyone, today we are making hamburgers. And what do you need for a hamburger? First you need hamburger buns. So let me take you through the first steps. Here I have a cup of lukewarm water. That's about blood temperature. Just stick your finger in, and if it feels the same as your finger, then it's about the right temperature. To that, I'm gonna add, I think that's 2 teaspoons of yeast goes in. And what's gonna happen is that warm water is gonna wake up the yeast, and the yeast will start doing its thing. To that, I will add 3 tablespoons of milk. You want to add to your liquid 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. That's going to be some delicious food for your yeast. And let that sit and bubble away for 5 minutes until you see some nice activity in there. So here I have 3 cups of bread flour and 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. And to that I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And here I've got 2.5 tablespoons of softened butter. That's going to be rubbed in with my fingertips, almost like you're making scones. Rub things in, get it all through. So now I've got this lovely crumbly smooth flour, and I'm going to make a little well in the middle for my liquid. Meanwhile, beat 1 egg . A little longer than 5 minutes, but now I can see a nice layer of activity on my liquid, and now I can be sure to add it to my well of flour. Also, I'm going to add my beaten egg, and I'm going to mix that into a shaggy dough before kneading it. You could also use a fork or a whisk doing this, but I just like chopsticks. So now this is getting more and more incorporated into a dough. I'm gonna start using my hands. This is a very wet dough, but don't be alarmed. This is actually my first time doing this particular recipe from the New York Times, but since my no-knead bread recipe from the New York Times went so well, why not? Now, plop your dough onto a surface. Don't flour your surface, and we're going to knead for 8 to 10 minutes. The more your glutens activate, the more sticky your dough, stretchy your dough will be, and it should start to fall off your hands. So my 8 minutes is up. The dough is nice and elastic, and you see it comes apart from my fingers now. So I'm going to make that into a ball and pop it in this bowl to rise. Ooh. So cover that and put it in a dark place for 1 to 2 hours until it's doubled in size. Hello again. So it's only been an hour because it's so warm where I am, my dough has already doubled in size. So now it's time to divide, shape and form, then let it rest before baking. So I'm going to tip this out with my scraper onto the surface, and I'm going to need to divide this in 8 with my rubber scraper. Ooh, sticky. I've separated my dough into 8 equal portions. If you're a real pro, you might want to weigh your portions, but I'll be fine. I've got a baking sheet here lined with parchment paper, and now I'm going to form my pieces of dough gently into little balls and place them 2 inches apart on my baking tray. First I'm going to wet my hands because the dough will hopefully not stick on my hands so much. Right, here goes nothing. Actually makes the surface tension of the dough tighter. Now we're going to put them to bed for another 1 to 2 hours, then we'll be ready to bake. My buns have been rising for an hour and they've doubled in size again. Now my oven is preheated and all I have to do is take this off and put an egg wash on before I put it in the oven. The problem is, as usual, tea towels love sticking to bread, so this is going to be like the dinner table, what do you call it, the dinner table trick. Now we need to do the egg wash so that we have shiny buns. Beat it up and add just a dash of water. I guess that's like 1 tablespoon. I don't have a brush here, so I'm just going to use some kitchen paper to get the tops nice and glossy. Now into a super hot preheated oven. On the middle rack for 15 minutes. Steamy. These are my paleo grass-fed minced beef patties. I'm gonna let them sit at room temperature on paper towel so that they're nice and dry. Now it's time to cook the meat. Get your skillet on a big hot flame and make sure that's really hot. Then we're going to do Heston Blumenthal's 30-second per side method. Seconds. Repeat till the doneness you desire. Once your meat comes off the pan, rest for 5 minutes before you eat. So these are just out of the oven and I put them on a cooling rack to cool before I cut into them. My meat's resting, so timing is looking good. So now we're ready to serve. Get one bun. Hey! Cut her open. Now I'm going to put a bit of mustard on the bun, just on one side, and I'm going to put a piece of meat, a bit of ketchup, some lettuce, few thinly sliced onions, and ketchup. Although some people don't like it, but I do. On the lid goes and some home fried potatoes on the side. That's a good looking plate of food. There you go, a burger from scratch with New York Times burger bun recipe. Bon appetit!